This is the Padua Podcast Network.
But it's twice the thickness. No reason I can think of to do that. It doesn't make it easier to move around other than to make it look like you're lifting more to yourself or to other people.
Running a Fever, episode 178, Gym Etiquette.
Welcome to the show. My name is Michael Davis. I love my life so much I want to make it last as long as possible. What about you? This is a podcast about fitness, diet, and medicine. We talk about these things, we learn about these things, and share our knowledge because we want to live a long, healthy, happy, active life right up to the very end. Really glad you're here today. Thank you for listening. You know what today is? Well, I'm going to tell you, today is a beautiful day at Lake Fayetteville. I'm feeling pretty good today. It's a nice breeze. I'm walking in the shade now, heading towards Veteran Park. A lot of activity today. Nobody can resist a day like today. It's hard to resist. How can you stay inside and surf the internet on a day like today? I love reading. Even if I was just reading today, I'd probably go outside and read somewhere. Beautiful day. Music is apparently one of those brain tricks that's supposed to improve your mental function. Even music you don't like. I'm imperfect. I'm not always nice, I'm not always considerate, but I try to be. So that's what I'm talking about a little bit today, just being considerate of other people in the gym, which is most of us cannot afford our own gyms, unfortunately. LeBron James can, I mentioned him a couple episodes ago, and does have his own personal private gyms, multiple gyms. But most of us cannot, and we have to share, especially if we want the latest equipment. Got a lot of new equipment in my current gym, and I noticed sort of a trend that's going on that's probably has more of a psychological impact than a physical one. There are these some of the new weights that they have are the same size as the old, like, you know, the 45-pound plate is generally the largest that you'll see, and they've got some new weights that are a couple of different types. One is the same circumference and double the width of the current 45, and it weighs 45. It doesn't weigh 90 pounds, it weighs 45 pounds, but it's twice the thickness. No reason I can think of to do that. It doesn't make it easier to move around other than to make it look like you're lifting more to yourself or to other people. And they also have weights that are almost the same thickness, but lower values. Like there's I believe a 25 and maybe even a 10 pound that are almost the same size as a 45 pound. So it makes it look like you're just have a bunch of big plates on there, and you do. They're just not heavy plates. They're big, bulky, but not heavy. And then another similar thing that I'm seeing is there are machines that are showing up in the free weights area. It's always been kind of machines there, you call them machines, but they're just designed to help you use your body to lift weights. Now you could put a barbell or a couple of dumbbells on your knees and work your calves in a seated fashion like that, or you could actually just pick them up and do calf lifts to work your calves that way. But it's kind of difficult because you have to balance, and so they had machines just using calf exercises as an example. Basically 2 calf exercises you can do. There's 2 muscles there. One is exercised by and activated when you're seated. The other is activated when you're standing. Well, so there's always been, machines to do that. Like pads for your shoulders, and this makes sense, right? And they're never as effective overall as free weights because you don't have that stabilization factor. You're using more muscles to stabilize yourself, but they're probably safer. But the trend I've noticed is more leverage in these machines. There's a seated dip machine, which I use, and it's great. And it's a lot easier to put weight on in this machine than it is to, for example, grab a dumbbell between your feet as you do dips. And this is great bicep exercise for me. It's what or tricep. So there are a number of these machines, and as a result of the increased leverage meaning, they have, I don't know how to describe it so much, but they have more moving parts, instead of just a single structure that you put weight on and lift it up. You have that structure attached to another structure that's long and makes a longer lever, and thus the decreased force that you need. Those of you who haven't taken physics, I'm sorry, you'll just have to trust me on that. And, I'm seeing, it just appears that there are machines that are, because there's kind of the machines, as I've talked about how most of these machines are not as good as free weights. There are some exceptions, and I think like the lat pull down might be one because it's on a cable, still involves some stabilization, machines like that. But a lot of these in the past have just had stacks on them, stacks of weights. You move a little bar up and down to increase or decrease the weight. One of the problems with this is that they're usually limited, so I find as I get stronger, a lot of these machines, I'm maxing out the weight stack and I can't get any higher, unless I find a way to attach more weights to it or get somebody to stand on it or something like that. But the other thing is more of a aesthetic or psychological aspect, in that you're moving the plates around so you feel like you're using free weights, In any event, the Jim has brought in a lot of this new equipment. It's very sturdy and kind of like it. But I just have noticed those aspects of it. I'm not actually increasing my strength. My strength is not increased by 100 pounds just because I've now can put 100 more pounds on there. It's that the leverage has increased. So we have all this nice equipment and we can get it for a relatively small monthly fee. I say relatively. It's a lot smaller than your mortgage would be on a full gym that contained all that equipment. There's no way that most people could afford to have up-to-date equipment. Now, I'm sure my gym sold their old equipment to somebody else. I'm sure it's not been thrown away. So there is that aspect. You could buy used equipment, and there are a number of ways you can build a functional gym. Howdy. Because you don't necessarily need all that equipment to do the exercises you need to do, as I've said. Barbell and dumbbells will do quite a bit But because most people are in this situation, you may not even have room for it, or there's also the real estate aspect of it. Most people are using a shared gym. We have to all sort of be together there in a community, and especially if you're going during peak times. So I thought I would just, this is my chance to rant about gym etiquette, because it's kind of there's some pet peeves. One thing is, it's just put away your plates, your weights. Re-rack your weights when you're done with your sets.
Mr. Bella!
When you were a kid, hopefully you had the training that I had from my relatives, folks, and parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, and so forth, on cleaning your room, putting your toys away when you're done. That's basically what I'm talking about. There are a couple of reasons why this is important. One is that you're going to something that's set up for somebody else's program, right? And unless you happen to be on the same level as the last person, you're going to have to change those weights, either take some off or put some on. And so a lot of people like to do warm-ups, sometimes I do, with just a bar, no weights at all. That barbell weighs 45 pounds, and it's good to work on your form that way and warm up a little bit before you put some heavy weights on there, especially at the beginning of a workout. The other reason is it's difficult to know, and this is particularly a problem at this new gym that I go to. It wasn't as much of a problem in the old one. You don't know if somebody's using that machine. It may have just run off to the restroom or whatever. And, I will walk into the gym sometimes and there'll be, just almost every station has weights on it, when nobody put their weights away. And this applies not only to weights, but to other things. One of the cool things about this more expensive gym that I'm at now is that they provide towels for you. And they wash them and they provide clean towels for you. So there are people that leave those things around. Water bottles. Some of this is the facility, but I don't go around work, just kind of drinking a bottle of water and dropping it on the floor for somebody else to pick up. So it's important to keep that space clean and those weights put away and everything to help the people, because even if the facility is taking care of that type of thing, they won't be doing it constantly in most cases. And honestly, I think that my gym could do a better job of that, could go in and before they did the remodeling, they had signs up that said put your weights away or put them on the rack. But they could go through at the end of the day and, re-rack those weights. But it's something that the members should also do. So one reason that someone might have left some weights on the rack is if they're doing what's called a cycle. A cycle is where you work at one station, you do a set here, and you go to another station and do a set, and you go to another station and do a set, and often you'll do these in threes. The workout program that I'm on kind of recommends this with regard to certain exercises like ab exercises and calf exercises, the kind of muscle groups that you can just for some reason work more often than others. They're more resilient, I guess. But when you do that, you take up machines, especially, if you're putting on your own set of weights, and, especially when the gym is crowded, but even when it's not, you're taking up equipment, a lot of equipment, 3 stations for yourself, and It's faster for you, but slower for everybody else. So I don't recommend that at any time unless you just know that there's nobody else there. I go in the gym sometimes and there's guys, they'll be lifting weights and they'll just drop the weight full, from their standing position onto the floor. And it just kind of slams down, reverberates along the floor. And there's a certain amount of noise that's kind of expected. And, maybe you're lifting weight that's difficult to handle. I know that when I'm at the point where when I do rows, it's with a weight that's pretty big, even for, I handle it with two hands when I'm bringing it over, So that's a lot for me to handle, but, there's no need to drop those weights. Not only could be damaging to the equipment, but it's just obnoxious. So don't do that. So here are some things that you might want to look at when you're in the gym. And just be more considerate of others. Medical, health, fitness, whatever report. General well-being report. Running a fever report. I don't know. This is the department of just everything. I'm feeling pretty good about my health right now and the efforts that I'm making. I don't think I should be really concerned about my weight right now. Because my body fat's looking pretty good. It's low to mid 20s right now. Even though I'm almost 20 pounds heavier than I was at my lowest in December. Remember that at that time, I'd lost 80 pounds in a year, and I had been working out seriously in the gym for 4 months. So now I've got 10 months of that. And I think the numbers will bear out that what's happened is that I've gone through unintentionally a bulking cycle. And this is the concept that in bulking you have to gain weight. You generally gain about 1 pound of muscle per pound of fat that you gain. But when you cut later on, reduce that body fat with the intention of reducing that body fat, you will be able to do so because you will lose the fat quicker than you will lose the muscle. And I think that's what's going on. I think the numbers will bear that out because my body fat is still in the low to mid 20s. And that indicates that I've put on, I don't know, one day, it fluctuates quite a bit, but one day the calculation came up to like an 18-pound increase in muscle mass. And I believe that, and I feel like I've increased my muscle by that much, which is, I think, pretty good. I am 53 years old. So that would be great, and I still think I can make it in the teens for body fat this year, and that's going to be my goal. The exact number is 15%, but I will consider it a great improvement if I can get into the teens this year. And I think that's very much possible. Less than 10% to go on that. So, it took me about a year to take that first 10% off. I would think that it would be more difficult to take the second 10% off. So I went from 35% to 25% in about a year. And I haven't really been doing the bulking and cutting thing. I think that's more of a competitive bodybuilder type thing. But, there are amateur bodybuilders that are just not exactly competitive, but still trying to be at that level, That friend of work, the bodybuilder that I talk to from time to time, is doing a competition this Saturday. And he's in his final cut before the, pre-competition cut, trying to get down to 7 or 8% body fat. So, see how he does. But I'm just trying to get down in the teens. That's my goal, and I think I'm going to be able to do it. Diet is looking pretty good. I'm not perfect. I have my times, and I'm going along getting probably 12 or 1,300 calories a day right now, and I'm trying to cut. That seems to be where I need to be, I think. Occasionally I'm below 1,000, but even though when I do the calculations, my BMR comes out to 18, probably 1,900 with the muscle mass that I have now. I don't lose weight when I'm there. So I have to get down to that $1,300 or 1,300 calorie mark. I think of it in terms of calories I can spend on a day. So that's kind of how I probably did that Freudian slip of the dollar in there. But that's doing pretty well. Psychologically, I'm still connecting with my friends. I had coffee with somebody this morning, talked to somebody on the phone, making plans to go to a baseball game, went to a baby shower last Saturday. My good friend Robert and his wife are having a baby boy. So feel pretty good about that. All those different things. So overall, it's a good day. It's a beautiful day in Lake Fayetteville, and I hope you've enjoyed this podcast episode. Thank you for listening. If you got the fever, keep it. If you don't, catch the fever. And I'll talk to you next time on Running a Fever.